Welcome to Unadulterated Adultery Confessions channel. We hope you will have fun with us. Enjoy watching. The night felt endless. Sleep had become a distant memory, replaced by a restless ache that settled deep beneath my skin. It had been months without warmth, without the weight of a man's touch, without feeling truly wanted. I turned onto my side. The silk sheets cool against my bare skin, but even that wasn't enough. I needed something more. A low rumble outside broke the silence, shaking me from my thoughts. I slipped out of bed, draping a satin robe around my frame as I padded toward the window. The summer air was thick with heat, but the sight below sent a different kind of warmth coursing through me. He stood there, unloading boxes from the back of a moving truck, tall, broad-shouldered, exuding quiet strength. His t-shirt clung to his torso, damp with sweat shifting over muscles that moved with effortless control. Even from a distance, I could see the sharp line of his jaw, the way his brow furrowed in focus. I watched, shameless, captivated. Then, as if sensing me, he looked up, eyes locked, a slow, knowing smile curled at the corner of his lips, not cocky but confident, the kind that made my pulse quicken. I leaned against the windowsill, letting my robe slip just enough to reveal smooth skin. His gaze flickered, lingering for a moment longer than necessary. For the first time in months, something stirred inside me. I didn't just want to meet my new neighbor. I wanted to play with fire, and something told me, before this story spirals even further, make sure to subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications for more. And when the story ends, don't forget to show your support through likes and comments. He'd be more than willing to burn with me. The idea hit me as I poured a glass of wine, the deep red swirling in my glass like temptation itself. If I was going to test the waters with my new neighbor, I wasn't going to do it with some innocent plate of cookies. No. I needed something more. Intimate, a drink, just the three of us. I slipped into something more appropriate, thin satin that clung to my curves, dipping dangerously low at the neckline. Nothing too obvious, just enough to make him look, just enough to make him want. The moment I knocked on his door, I heard movement inside, heavy steps, a pause, then the slow turn of the doorknob. And there he was, shirtless, fresh from the shower water, still clinging to his skin. A towel draped carelessly around his neck. His dark hair was damp, slightly told, the scent of clean soap curling into the warm night air. He blinked, eyes dragging over me, his grip tightening on the door frame. I let him look. Hey, neighbor. My voice was smooth, teasing. I figured moving in must be exhausting. Thought you could use a drink. His lips parted slightly, as if considering. His gaze flicked from the wine bottle in my hand back to me, lingering on the exposed curve of my collarbone. A drink, huh? He murmured. I tilted my head, my smile slow and deliberate. Unless you're too tired. His smirk deepened. I think I can make an exception. I stepped past him, the space between us almost non-existent, as my shoulder brushed against his bare C*******ty pen, that thick unspoken charge in the air. I felt his breath hitch, but I made my way to his kitchen, placing the bottle on the counter before turning to face him. He watched me, arms folded, the muscles in his forearms flexing. Nice place, I said, pouring the wine into 3 glasses. Though I imagine unpacking alone gets lonely. His jaw twitched. It's not so bad. I lifted a glass to my lips, taking a slow sip, letting the taste linger before licking a stray drop from my bottom lip. His eyes followed the movement, darkening, but I bet I continued, placing the glass down and stepping closer. You wouldn't mind a little company? His tongue darted out, wetting his lips, and you just happened to show up. I laughed, soft and knowing. I don't believe in coincidences, sweetheart. His breath deepened as I reached for his glass, my fingers grazing his just a touch, just enough to send a message. I took it from him, setting it aside, and let my hands trail up his arms, slow and feather-light. His skin was warm, solid beneath my fingertips. He didn't move away, didn't stop me. Instead, his hands found my waist, holding me there. Testing. His touch was firm but hesitant, as if waiting for permission. I leaned in my breath, teasing his ear. You don't seem like the type to hold back. His grip tightened. And you don't seem like the type to play fair. He murmured, his voice lower, now rougher. I smiled against his skin. Where's the fun in fair? Then, just as quickly as I had stepped into his space, I pulled back. His fingers twitch as if resisting the urge to pull me right back in. I picked up my glass again, taking another sip. Friday. I mused, my tone light but suggestive. He blinked, caught off guard. What, your girlfriend? I reminded him. She gets here Friday. Was tension. Yeah. His voice was quieter, now his jaw tight. I tilted my head, watching him, watching the way he tried to shake off the moment. I licked another drop of wine off my lip, placing my glass down. I ran a single finger down his C********T, stopping just above his waistband. B's promise, shame. I whispered, my voice thick with meaning. Then, before he could respond, I turned and walked away, leaving the air charged and heavy behind me. I didn't need to look back to know he was still standing there, watching me, wanting me, and that was exactly what I wanted to be wanted, and I had 3 days to make sure he gave in. The game had begun for the next 3 days. I let the tension simmer, never pushing too far, just enough to keep him on edge, enough to make him think about me when he shouldn't. A lingering glance, slow teasing smile, a casual brush of my fingers when I handed him something. But tonight, I wasn't holding back. It was the 5th of June and the neighborhood was alive. With celebrations, fireworks exploded in the sky, casting flickering colors across my skin. As I stepped onto my porch with 3 drinks in hand, I knew he was outside. I had been watching him from my window, pretending not to notice how he stole glances at me whenever I passed by. He leaned against his railing, looking effortlessly relaxed, but I could see the tension in his shoulders and the way his fingers curled slightly. When he exhaled, perfect, thought you might like something stronger, I called out, holding up a glass. He turned, his gaze trailing over me, dark and unreadable. I had chosen my outfit with care. Thin fabric draped over my curves, dipping low in the front, the kind that made it impossible not to look. The warm breeze teased the hem of my dress, lifting it just enough. He exhaled, shaking his head with a small smirk. You always come bearing gifts, don't you? I crossed the space between us, handing him the glass only for special people. His fingers brushed mine as he took it, the contact electric, and I'm special. I leaned against the railing beside him, taking a sip of my drink. I don't do this for just anyone. Silence stretched between us, thick with everything unspoken. Another firework exploded, painting the sky in red and gold. His voice was quieter when he finally spoke. You're playing with fire. I turned to him, letting my knee graze his thigh as I faced him fully. Am I? His jaw clenched. You know you are. I reached out my fingers, tracing the condensation on his glass, a slow, lazy circle. Maybe I like the heat. His breath hitched just slightly, but I heard it. I placed my drink down, running a single fingertip along the rim of his glass before trailing it down over his knuckles. Watching his reaction carefully, he didn't stop me, didn't pull away. His grip on the railing tightened, instead, tell me to stop. I murmured, my voice barely above a whisper. He didn't. I shifted closer, close enough to feel his warmth, close enough that if either of us moved even a fraction, his glass hit the railing with a dull thud, and then his hand was at my waist, fingers pressing in his grip firm, pulling me against him with a need that had been simmering between us for days. A sharp exhale left his lips as I tilted my head up, my breath teasing his jaw. See, I whispered, you don't want me to stop. His fingers curled, gripping me tighter. His other hand rose, hovering near my ********, torn between pulling me closer and resisting. I reached up, brushing my lips against his jaw, just a whisper of contact enough to feel the shudder in his breath. Then, with a wicked smile, I pulled back, grabbing my drink again, my eyes dancing with satisfaction. His hands twitched at his sides, his expression unreadable. I took a slow sip, licking a stray drop off my bottom lip. Good night, neighbor. Then I turned and walked away, leaving him standing there breathless. But I knew by tomorrow he wouldn't resist me anymore. I didn't have to wait long. The next evening, just as I expected, he knocked on my door. The way he stood, broad shoulders, tense hands shoved into his pockets, gaze dark and unreadable, told me everything before he even spoke. You left me hanging last night. His voice was low, rough. I leaned against the doosra, feigning innocence. Did I? His juttin? You know you did. A shown knowing smile curled my lips. Then maybe you should come in and tell me exactly how you feel about that. He hesitated just for a second. But then he stepped inside and I barely had time to close the door before he was on me. His hands found my waist, gripping firmly as he pushed me back against the wall. His breath was warm against my cheek. His body tense like he was holding back something dangerous. "You like teasing, don't you?" He murmured, his voice like gravel, sending a shiver down my spine. I tilted my chin up, meeting his gaze head. "Maybe I just like seeing how much you can take." A deep sound rumbled from his C*******T, and then his lips crashed against mine. The kiss was fire. Scorching and desperate, his hands roamed, exploring, molding me against him. I responded in kind, my fingers threading into his hair, pulling him closer, needing more. His lips trailed along my jaw and down my neck, each press of his mouth making my breath hitch, my skin tinged, heat pooling deep inside me. I felt him smirk against my skin, still teasing. I gasped as his hand slid lower, his touch igniting something uncontrollable inside me. "Not anymore." He lifted me effortlessly, my legs wrapping around his waist as he carried me toward the couch. His lips never left mine, his kisses deep and claiming as if he had been waiting for this moment. As long as I had everything blurred into heated whispers and tangled limbs, a slow burning rhythm of need and surrender. He took time, saving every reaction, every gasp, and every arch of my body beneath him. And when we finally collapsed together, breathless and spent, I felt something shift. I had wanted to play with fire to push him to the edge, but now lying there, his arm draped lazily over me, his fingers tracing absent-minded circles on my skin, I realized something I hadn't expected. This wasn't just about the thrill anymore, somewhere between the teasing glances and the whispered challenges. Something deeper had settled between us, and that scared me more than anything. He exhaled, pressing a lazy kiss to my temple. "Your trouble, you know that," I smiled. But it wasn't quite as smug as before. I know, because now I wasn't sure who had truly seduced him. Don't forget to subscribe, like and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories.